Hello and welcome to another edition of the SpareTime Podcast. And this time we're bringing it to you from Poitiers in France. We're here for the bowling promotion tour. And as you can see on this podcast, we have our special guest, Martin Larsen.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. It's much appreciated.
Well, it's my pleasure.
So we've known each other for a few days now, and we found out a little bit more about you that we didn't know before. But I'd just like to ask you a little bit about how you got into bowling originally.
Yeah, I have to blame my dad for that. He's been bowling for a long time, and he was the one that took me down to the bowling center when I was around 8-9 years old. I loved a lot of sports, soccer, and some other sports I was doing, and tried bowling as well. And we were quite a bunch of young guys actually liking it and doing it together. So that and all the other sports. But in the long run, bowling was the one that I felt like I developed and had a bigger passion for than all the other ones.
Okay, so you joined Team Sweden in 2001?
Actually, I did my first national team appearance with the youth, 97. Mm-hmm. Actually here in France, in Annecy. So that was my first blue and yellow appearance. But 2001 was the first one with the adult team, or however you want to see it. Yeah.
So what was it like to bowl for your country?
I think up until I had the privilege to bowl for the whole continent, like the whole Europe with the PBA Cup, up until then, I think that's the absolute coolest thing you can do. To all the hours you put in practice, and to put your national team jersey on, that's pretty special. And having the fortune that I had to even being able to hear your national anthem with the national team shirt on, that's undescribable. It's super cool.
And you must have had quite a bit of success as being a member of Team Sweden.
Yeah, it's been I don't actually know how many medals it is now, but it's somewhere between 35 and 40 medals.
That's a lot.
So it's many, and of course not all of them is because of me. I had some great teammates and great coaches as well. So I mean there's great bowlers around the world that there are one or two in a country. But to take that many medals, you have to have a strong team overall, and I've been fortunate enough to have that.
Okay, so between 97 and then 2001, when you were in the adult Team Sweden, and then you became pro in 2009, what actually happened in that window of, say, 8 years that made you believe that you could become professional at this sport?
Yeah, that's I guess it's hard to put the one point there, but I feel that I never wanted to leave anything out there. Like I wanted to learn everything that was in bowling, and I felt like I started picking up the things with the balls and arsenal, and I was learning more about oil patterns and lanes, and I kind of saw the game pretty good. I think I don't think I'm like I there's a lot of guys that has that natural swing, natural talent, and don't need to practice. I really needed to practice, but I think I had a good understanding about the game, matching up balls to patterns and lines and stuff. So in the long run, I probably didn't need to do as good as the other guys that didn't really get that. I think that was one of those things that I felt like every year, I learned something. I never really stood still. So that's what's one of the things that I think made me slowly but steady get to the PBA thoughts. That together with some good push and help on sponsors and coaches and stuff that believed in me. So for me, it was not a one thing deal. Like it was many things that got together for me to go over and try the PBA stuff.
Mm-hmm. So Ben is going to speak by the looks of his face.
So obviously, as you mentioned, you've had a few sponsorships in your time, and obviously I've just got my first one with Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had a few sort of non-bowling related ones before. What was the emotion like when you got your first sponsorship?
Well, it's well, I wish I had one when I was as young as you, but then I had no chance to get one. But other than companies like with my parents know and stuff like that. So the first time I signed with Storm was pretty special because that was right after I won an EBT event in Barcelona, and had a sponsor back home before that kind of wanted me not to sign with any ball companies because they didn't want me to lock myself into a certain brand that I can choose whatever. But Storm has always been in my heart, and when I was able to sign with them, I actually don't remember the year, but it was a pretty cool feeling to know that you have such a big company that believe in you and want you to wear their logo and use their stuff and kind of work for them. So no, it's cool, yeah.
As well, because this one actually came from Lee Chatfield, because we were speaking to him at the English Open a couple of weeks ago, and we were putting some teasers out to get some good questions, and he said that obviously, like you said, you've got 8 EBT titles, and he was wondering how you feel like the difference between now and 10 years ago bowling the EBT, like how has it changed, both on and off the lanes as well.
Well, I guess from the first couple of years I bowled EBTs was a lot for like watch and learn and get better, and then you got to the point where you feel like, okay, now I'm actually traveling to the tournament to make money, and that's, I'd rather have the stage before when you go and try to learn and try to get better, because you don't have that high pressure on yourself, but after a while when you feel like you're actually doing it to make your living and make money, it's more serious, and you miss a little bit of the fun that you have. And of course, also at that time, pretty much going back to places I've already been. So I know the places, but it's not as exciting anymore. But it's still like I really do what I love to do, to play bowling. But it's in a different kind of mentality. So yeah, me personally, I liked the stage before better than now, I have to say.
Yeah. As well, like you spoke about, making money and making a living from bowling. When you did go professional in 2009,
yep.
What was the main difference, and like with the quality and just the atmosphere in general when you were bowling in Europe and when you moved to America to bowl?
Well, actually, it was a little bit like a step back again to watch and learn, because I've done the EBT for a while then, and taking the step to the PBA was the next level. You will say it's the same amount of boards, same amount of pins, blah blah blah, but it's so different. The transition and how the lanes play, and the atmosphere and the field that you bowl against, it's so different. So that was for sure taking it to the next level and making it really interesting again in trying to develop and see if you actually have a chance against the best in the world.
I mean, just sort of pushing on that. What were everyone sort of watches bowling growing up, and like I said this to you a week or two ago when we first met, about how you remember when I showed you that picture?
Yeah.
I'll put it up on the screen now somewhere, of when I was little, and I sort of seeing you there as like, oh, I'm here with a professional, and he's bowling the Weber Cup, and I'm watching him bowl the Weber Cup. Who for you was that person who you watched growing up, and then when you go to the States to bowl, you then start bowling alongside him and you're like, wow? Yeah.
No, I had a bunch of guys. First it started locally. There was a couple of guys in my center. Martin Blixt, who was one of the guys that I actually now been bowling in the national team with, and as a coach as well. He was one of the guys I started looking up to, like when he was drilling balls and stuff. It was I always looked to the new stuff he had and that kind of thing. And then we had a couple of really good names in my neighborhood in around Sweden and Norway and Finland, which is Thomas Leanderson, Mika Koivuniemi, Tor Torgerson. And the fantastic thing about that is right now I'm sitting here and I've been bowling teams with those guys in different environments. It's Team Pergamon in Team Sweden and the Weber Cup team. So it's pretty cool to have done that journey. Yeah. And I really could relate to the feels that you have, like we're sitting here talking, and I was in the Weber Cup and you were a little kid, and now we bowl in the same tournament and stuff. So it's pretty cool, and even if it's kind of unrealistic when you to look at yourself as an idol or something like that, I feel I've been doing the journey and knowing the feeling I had when I were in your shoes. So I think I really try to give back now, because I think bowling has given me so much, and that feel is I think that's why I became good because of the feel like you're talking about. Like you're watching them best, you watch your idols, and you try to become them.
Yeah.
You can probably hear we're in very close to the hotel kitchen, so you can hear all the rattles of the cups and the pans and things like that. Hopefully it's not affecting the quality of the sound too much. You talked earlier on about when you became professional, and obviously you were doing it then to make money. Did you find that had an effect on your mindset? I sort of liken it to playing poker online, where you're doing it for fun, and all of a sudden you put money in, and it's well known that poker players' mindset changes totally when there's real money involved. Did you find that in bowling?
On and off. Sometimes it's very tough mentally with bowling. Sometimes you get up on the lanes and you feel like it's just bowling, and then the next time you get up and you think about all those stuff, and then it's pretty hard to perform. So I, yes and no. There's days that I feel like that, and there's days that I don't. But overall, I still had the passion for the game, and I did it because I loved to do it. And I never really felt like I need to win. I had backup with my sponsors, so I know that my life will go on. And the little sad thing with bowling is the prize money is not big enough to be life-changing. So there's a few bowlers out there that have been able to make enough money to change their life. I haven't, but I've been able to live a life that had a lot of fun and a lot of pleasure, and been able to do what I like. So I guess there's both yes and no to your answer.
Okay. So just moving on, when you were selected for the Elias Cup, can you talk me through the process that led to that?
I guess that's one of the things. So you being on tour, you bowl for yourself, like it's individual bowl almost the whole time. And I'm born and raised with team play, so I love team play. I mean, I kind of have to bowl individual to be out there, but if I can choose, I will bowl team play any day. So being on the PBA league was for sure one of the things I was really looking forward to, and the atmosphere, like they tried to get there with a little bit more of a loud and crowded and more of a, whatever you guys want to say, dart-ish atmosphere. So that was for sure something I always wanted to do. And the first time I got picked, it was pretty special. I was bowling in a team where Tim Mack was a captain, and that's for sure one of my really big idols. He was the guy that come over for the States, come to Europe, come to Sweden, and dominated the world like nobody else. So that was a pretty special thing. That first year when I was bowling with Pittsburgh Jackrabbits was the name at the time. So and then a bunch of years later, I was able to join Timmy's team again and win the Elias Cup. So that was a great kind of circle to be in for sure.
Okay. Moving on to your own tournament, which just ended a couple of weeks ago, Larsen Masters.
Mm-hmm.
What was the inspiration behind starting that tournament?
Actually, I can't take credit for that. It was two friends back home, two guys that run centers. One that runs center close to Gothenburg, and one very far north, Hampus Torstensson and Daniel Rumbeck. They called me the one year and said, "Hey, we're missing a big tournament in Sweden. We haven't had it for a while." I said, "Yeah, you're right. We want to get it done." Cool. I'm all for it. And we discussed a little bit, and they said, "So, yeah, and we want to name it after you." I said, "Whoa, okay, I'm up for everything before that, but I'm not really sure about that." So we had some discussions going on, and yeah, here we are. 2017 was that, I think we had a discussion, and now it's six years later, and we had 5 editions running, and the 5th edition was just finished, and I think we had a pretty good success. So I guess I have to be happy with my decision to let them talk me into to use my name, even if I wouldn't mind to change the name even today to something else.
But it wouldn't be the same tournament if we changed the name, though, would it?
No, maybe not. But it's always hard. It's hard to hear your own voice. It's hard to see your own name in certain things, and to say my own nickname or name on such a big tournament that even has a PBA status. it's kind of unreal. I don't know if I still get it. Like it's kind of weird feeling, I have to say. But again, I'm proud of it for sure, and I'm proud of the team that's including in that tournament. It's not a one-man job, and it's not a 1 hour job. It's takes a lot of hours and a lot of manpower, and a lot of great people around to make that happen.
Yeah. So 14 years at the pro. What advice would you give to your younger self if you could go back in time?
At the moment, I probably would take out my thumb.
Yeah.
So here you are, man. I'm born 79. Osku and Belmo is born 83, so I'm 4 years older than them. I got to see them pretty much the same time. We bowled the World Youth in Thailand 02, and I go, oh, that looks weird and that looks cool, and didn't think too much about it. But I mean, that pretty much changed bowling. What they two guys did. The one from Australia, one from Finland, same age. You got together doing the same thing, and I can't see that the sport will develop back to use the thumb. I think it doesn't make sense at the moment. So that's the one thing probably I would do. Other than that, I can't say I have any regrets. I pretty much put all the energy I could into to do what I did. Maybe you could always work half an hour more or an hour more, but I'm missing my PBA title. But other than that, I feel like I've accomplished and pretty much done whatever I could ask for.
So I put out some feeders on Instagram for some questions. And one of the good friends of mine, Curtis, he asked a question, and this for me is actually a really important question I've wanted to know. How do you keep focus at a tournament?
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. I've gone through some different mental coaches, and the one I've stayed with the longest is the one I still use. I think one of the biggest things that people forget about is preparation. To be able to stay focused on a tournament, you need to know that you've done everything you could before you get to the tournament. So you can't stand there and think about, I should have done that, I should have brought that ball, I should have done whatever it is. So preparation, I think, is the key to be able to actually do it. And then on top of that, it's same thing as preparation. You got to come full with energy. Like you can't have no sleep, have no food, have nothing like that. That's another one. It's impossible to stay focused for 4 hours if you're not loaded up with energy. And then I guess the last one is like the kind of real mental thing is here and now. Like it doesn't matter what you did the shot before. It doesn't matter what you're going to do the shot after. It's just here and now. Like this is the next shot. If it's for 147 or if it's for 290, it doesn't matter. And I think the best one on the planet, Belmo, I think is the perfect example for that. Now you can't tell if he's going to throw the third one in the 10th for 168 or for 300. It's the same thing. So that kind of thinking is important, I think.
So you mentioned about obviously preparation.
Yep.
So run me through this. You've got an event coming up. Say you've got the Masters coming up.
Yep.
What do you do to sort of train and prepare yourself for that event?
Again, it's about the whole picture. I need to make sure I have the arsenal ready. I need to make sure my spare game is good. My shoelaces are good, or like I try to think about everything. Like I have extra shoelaces in my bag. I have extra grips. I don't want to leave anything for what do you say for the
chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Okay, and I'll ask you one quick question. We were just talking last night in a restaurant that a lot of youth bowlers don't become an adult bowler, so for some reason they get to sort of 17 or 18 and then other parts of life takes over and then they stop bowling and they don't progress beyond that stage.
yeah.
What advice would you give to any youth bowlers approaching that sort of critical age where it is sort of trying to make their mind up, they've got to go to university or college or whatever? What advice would you give to them about continuing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people stop when they become better, and then they hit the little slope, and it's not as easy anymore. And everybody hits that. Like I've not seen anybody not get good and then get worse, and then you get better and then get worse. Like the ones that give up is they don't have the faith or the energy to like climb the hill again, because you can't stay up there all the time. I've seen some go like that, but sooner or later you hit the downslope, and you just got to sit down and think about, like, is this what I wanted to do? And if that's a yes, then you got to ask yourself, why isn't things going as good as it did before? Like, what has changed? Is it the environment? Is it me? What do I need to get better at? And not blame the surroundings. Like, it's way too many bowlers that complains about oil patterns or balls or who you're following and all that stuff. If you need to be one of the best in the world, you should be able to handle everything.
So, I've got one last question before I finish.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to take
before my nose is really...
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. So, everyone has that funny story in bowling, whether it's, like a bit embarrassing, whether it's just funny or something that, it's one of those stories that, like, say for instance for me, I bowled against Don Barrett last week. First shot, straight in the gutter.
Oh. For him or for you?
No, for me.
Oh,
but I mean, I had a really bad game that game, so.
Okay, and why was that?
I had a 128.
Because of you were bowling with Dom, or?
I mean, he bowled 165.
Okay,
so
tough pair.
Yeah, I think the highest score on my pair was like 174.
Oh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
So what's yours?
What's mine? Well, if I should put myself out there, one thing that was pretty embarrassing and funny. Me and Robert Andersson, the national team coach for Sweden now, we done a lot of hours together. We were the two that were practicing together, traveled together, everything. And we were down in our center in Gothenburg at the time and practicing one morning. And at the time, Sweden has a magazine, and me and Robert was on the cover after winning the Worlds in 2006. And down walks two groups of kids from school. They're gonna have open play with the school. So the proprietor goes like, you see the kids looking at us when we're practicing. I said, yeah, those two guys, look at this. They just won the World Championships and stuff. Okay, cool. Of course, everybody grabbed the magazine and wanted it signed and everything. So after a while, when we did 40, 50 of those magazines signed, and we said, okay, go enjoy bowling. We're going to keep on practicing. And at the time, we had post-it notes to mark our approach and steps. And what I didn't notice was I stepped on one of those and didn't know I got one right underneath my heel. So when I went back up and threw my first shot after signing 40 of those magazines, I fucking boom, right, like the head in the right gutter, the foot's in the left gutter. I was like a dead fish on the lane. And my mate Robert, I don't know, he still has cramps in his stomach, I think, after that, because he couldn't help himself.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, if you don't fall in the gutter at least once, you're not a bowler.
Yeah. So after the practice, there was 35 of those magazines laying around. Nobody wants them anymore. So yeah, I think we all have something that's not super great, but you gotta learn to live with the failures as well. You gotta be more failures than success. That's just how it is.
I think it's important not to take bowling and yourself too seriously sometimes, It's like, especially when I was younger, I'd have one bad game, get in a mood, start crying, and then that's the day gone. Like, you bowl 120, you're done.
Yeah.
Where now I kind of learn that you just, you saw today I bowled really, really bad, but you just got to laugh it off and get on with it to the next day.
No, I think that's a good strategy, but you need to learn something from the bad games. Like, you need to see, what can I do to not make it happen again? But it's really good if you can throw it behind your back and move on. My mental coach normally says, like, if you look at every shot as a piece of paper, and it's a good one, you like what do you put holes in it and put it in your saviors and make sure you save the good ones, and the bad ones you look at and see if what you can learn from it, and you throw it away, and so you don't have to remember it anymore. But you get to take something with you from what's ever happening here. You got to try to learn something from everything.
Okay, Martin, it's really appreciated you taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
And hope everybody's enjoyed the information that Martin has given us this afternoon. That's all for this Spare Time podcast. We will be having more guests on future podcasts, so subscribe and see who we've got on next. Thanks very much for watching.
Actually, I have one more thing. People can't see that, but I think this is a sign. If you want to turn the camera to this table and see what the number is here.
Oh yeah.
For this one.
I didn't know.
This has to be what's coming up pretty soon. Okay. That's gonna be my last words. Bowl up a storm and keep chasing those 300s. Okay.